Hi, my name's Sam Adam. I'm one of the careers consultants here at Brunel, and today I wanted to talk to you about getting a job with a disability. So just to provide you with a brief overview of the main things to think about so you can tackle this process with confidence. It is a time that can cause quite a lot of anxiety for people, so I just wanted to make sure that you have all the information you need. One of the questions that we get asked a lot is whether to be open with employers about a disability or not. And really there's no right or wrong answer here. It is entirely your decision. But what you want to take into account is, am I going to put myself in the best situation to demonstrate my full potential to an employer? And things to take into account. So the advantages of being open about a disability is that you can ask for the adjustments and the support that you need prior to an interview, for example. The Equality Act of 2010 places an obligation on employers to ensure that they make reasonable adjustments in the workplace for you. And this is to make sure that you can access the job and work to the best of your ability. Another advantage is that you can discuss your disability positively, highlighting the strengths and skills that you have developed as a result of living with your disability. You can also be yourself and be confident that you're there, you've shared all the information you need to share, and you can demonstrate your best potential. Another thing to think about is the fact that actually employers are really used to having these kinds of discussions with people. So actually it's probably more scary for you than it is for them. A couple of disadvantages to think about not being open are that if adjustments are not put in place for you, it could mean that actually you're not demonstrating your best potential, and that could mean that you miss your dream job. If you decide to share details of your disability at a certain point throughout the process rather than the beginning, it could affect your relationship with the employer, and it could also cause delays to the recruitment process. So we've just talked about reasonable adjustments, and these will be completely personal to you, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of typical adjustments that can be put in place for people. So for example, at interview, it could be something as simple as just some additional time for assessments, or an interpreter, some assistive technology, for example. And then in the workplace, it may be that you require a parking space, or you may need to have an orientation visit before you start at the workplace. So these are just a couple of examples, but it's going to be up to you. You're your own expert in yourself, and so you know the kinds of adjustments that you will need. So you've had a think about whether you want to be open or not. And if your decision is yes, I do, then you're going to want to prepare yourself and think about, well, actually, how am I going to do this? And there are several things to think about. So one of these is, well, actually, what am I going to tell the employer? And a good way to do this is to prepare a statement that can be broken down into 3 sections, starting with, okay, well, this is my disability. This is the implication for either the recruitment process or for me taking part in the role itself. And then as a consequence, this is what I'm going to need. So that's the what. Then you need to work out who are you going to tell. So you need to identify perhaps who the person in charge of the recruitment process is for this particular job role. And the best way to do that is going to be probably just to get in touch with the Human Resources Department. Or you may be able to find this information on the company website. Then you're going to want to decide, well, actually, when am I going to share this information? And we'll talk about that in a minute. And as we've already mentioned, you will also want to think about, well, how am I going to present my disability positively? What are the strengths that I've built up as a result of living with my disability? Okay, so how to highlight the strengths that your disability has helped you to develop. Again, this is going to be really personal to you, but it can be really useful if you can to try and put it in the context of the job role. So again, go back to your job description and look at the skill requirements of the job role. So for example, if they're looking for someone with time management skills, perhaps you're someone who has to complete certain tasks between leaving home and getting to university in the morning, things that you may not have had to have done without your disability. And you can then go into the detail of this and highlight how actually this has made you become really competent in managing time efficiently. So again, just think about the things that you have developed. Then we mentioned when to share information on your disability. And as I said, this can be done at any stage of the recruitment process. So some people find that they like to contact an employer before making an application. That way they can check whether the employer can put in place the adjustments that they need, for example, for interview. And this can give you confidence. On an application form, you will often find that there is a section for you to share details of a disability, and if there isn't, you can always put details in a covering letter. Once you've been invited for an interview, if you know that you're going to need adjustments at the interview, then this can be a good stage for you to get in touch with the employer and just advise them, giving them plenty of notice so that they have time to get the reasonable adjustments in place for you. It may be that you decide that you want to share details during the interview, but do be aware that this might not be the best time to share information on your disability, because it can take the employer by surprise and the interview may then not go quite as smoothly as it could have done otherwise. Some people decide to wait until they've had a job offer. And it is worth bearing in mind that actually an employer can ask you if you have a disability when they've made you an offer of a job, but they cannot then withdraw that offer due to your disability. And actually you don't have to share details of your disability unless actually there are health and safety implications there. Some people decide to wait until they've started work if there are any minimal adjustments that they need and it's not going to create any problems for them. So there were just a couple of extra points that I wanted you to be aware of. The first one is the Disability Confident Employers Scheme. Any employer that demonstrates this logo on their website is an employer that's signed up to the scheme and that actively welcomes applications from people with disabilities. The Access to Work scheme is government funding which is available to cover the costs of reasonable adjustments in the workplace. So for example, covering the costs of assistive technology or travelling to work. The Equality Act 2010 we've already mentioned, and these two websites here at the end I just wanted you to be aware of. So on the Brunel website here there's more information on some of the points I've already covered, and this My Plus Students Club is a really useful website. There are lots and lots of useful resources on there to help you with all of the aspects of applying for a job, interviews, etc. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful. Do connect with us on social media and be sure to make an appointment with your careers consultant for any extra information on any of this and for any additional help with your graduate job search.